How to play the Trapper in 11 minutes or less. Playing Trapper is basically like playing as a cowboy or a sheepdog. I know, stick with me on this though. You typically start with 2 traps, and 8 traps randomly spawn in the environment. You need to place traps about and essentially herd survivors in chase into the traps to get the most value out of these. The basic gameplay loop I do is I'll start to look for signs of survivors, whether that's aura reading from perks or just using my intuition. I look for trap opportunities like annoying loops, trapping drop locations, or placing traps ingressed in choke points or places you imagine survivors might walk. I will then place the trap when I found suitable locations, then I'll start moving towards where I was going. If I see a trap on the way to where I'm heading, I will take a slight detour to pick up if I need more bear trap stock. When encountering survivors, generally this will be on generators, so chase them off and then chase whichever survivor makes the most sense. Ideally, whoever is nearest to your open traps. If a survivor takes you to a loop and is doing well, trap at the window or a pallet. Lower skill survivors will continue the loop and fall into the trap, whilst higher skill survivors will typically run off and leave the loop. And then you can decide to either carry on chasing them if you think it's worth it, or go find another survivor. And that loop will be trapped for the next survivor. It won't be the best trap, but it's there ready. And that's generally it. Cause as much pressure as possible. Trap loops, hit survivors, down them, continuing place traps, reset traps where possible. Once a trap's been used a couple of times, you'll want to relocate it because survivors will cotton onto it, so you want to be moving them about when they've been used. That said, there is certain loops you might want to keep it at because it's just so strong regardless. Some other tips for a Trapper, depending on your gameplay style. Pallets. Sometimes pallets aren't worth breaking, sometimes they can do your bidding. Make sure you trap it when the survivor has ran off or at a later time when you come back to the area. This is surprisingly effective and is probably so effective in my experience because of how many survivors run windows, but that's just a theory. A killer theory. Trapping drop locations is more effective than you think, such as the vault window in Dead Dog Saloon. So many people use that. Or the drop from the top floor of Hawkins. With the added rubble there, it can be harder to spot as well. You don't always have to hide traps. You can place them in doorways to help with herding survivors to other traps, or denying access to annoying loop areas. Whilst these traps most of the time won't catch anyone, they do serve a purpose of making no-go areas, so it's sometimes worth doing. With Shack, I would recommend trapping the outside window. Usually sometimes there's grass there, so definitely a good idea. The purpose of this trap, it sometimes gets people, but most people know about it these days. This trap is more of a decoy for the second trap. The second trap you will place on the side with the door without the pallet, and you'll put it in the grass on the direction to the window. This gets a lot of people. Surprisingly a lot of people. Eventually people will cotton onto it, but you will get a few traps there. Definitely worth trapping the shack with that. Franklin's Demise and Weave Attunement are so awesome on this killer. Hit a survivor, they drop their item, you trap it, and then if they want their item back, they have to disarm a trap. This means you can see their aura for quite a long time, and this is brilliant information for tracking survivors and gives them a side objective as well. And occasionally, people just walk into the trap as well, not expecting it. I primarily think this is because that with Weave Attunement and Franklin's, there is a white aura, so not everyone always pays attention, but again, I'm not sure. And if they do manage to disarm the trap and pick up the item, they become oblivious, so you can sneak up on them a little later, and this can also make them panic and fall into another trap. Add-ons. So my personal preference is generally bear oil, ironically because I play Naughty Bear, and trapper gloves or fastening tools. The bear oil makes setting the trap actions silent, and the trapping gloves or fastening tools speeds up the setting speed by 30 or 50%, mainly because that feels better to me to place down. But this also has kind of a use in loops as well. You can speed up and silently put a trap down, and sometimes it gets people too. But that's just generally my preference. Other add-ons to take a look at are Wax Brick and 4 Coil Spring Kit. These could be good together. if you want to maximize the time people are in traps, so give you the maximum amount of time to catch up and hit them whilst they're in the trap. One of the add-ons I don't like, tar bottle. I don't like this add-on because I can still spot them when they're darker or lighter. It doesn't matter to me. There might be some edge cases with shadows, but a good survivor is going to spot them regardless, so I wouldn't recommend this one. Trapper bag is quite handy. It allows you to carry one more trap and start with one more trap, but it is also a luxury add-on in my opinion. Honing stone. If you're playing like me, I don't think this is as good as it sounds. I use traps to control and gain distance to use my M1 to down, so having a trap that downs you when you get out isn't that helpful to me. If I'm that far away from the survivor, well, that trap was kind of pointless. Bloody coil. This can make lesser experienced players think twice about disarming traps, but in reality, I've never found this add-on that useful. You can get some injures on it, but again, you want to be herding survivors into your traps. Trapper sack. I would not recommend this if you are not experienced at playing Trapper and good at placing traps. You start with all your traps, which can give you a bit more of the element of surprise against survivors because they won't see your traps and call out to other survivors, oh, it's Trapper. The downside to this is once you place a trap, you can't pick it back up. I'd use this add-on to save time and to have a better element of surprise for that very reason. I would likely pair this up with tension spring or iridescent stone. Tension spring closes the trap 2 seconds after a survivor escapes, resetting this trap for further use. Meanwhile, iridescent stone randomly opens a closed trap every 30 seconds. Padded drawers. This is our meme add-on for Trapper. When a survivor is trapped, they no longer are damaged. However, you get more blood points for trapping survivors. I'd run this with wax brick if you're going to run it, as it increases their escape time, allowing you more time to get 2 hits on the survivor trapped rather than just 1, therefore getting the down. But as stated, it's generally a meme add-on. I was running it at Christmas to trap survivors but not injure them, as like a little Christmas present. I was generally letting them go. Perks and builds. So the Trapper's main weakness is travelling and information in my opinion. I personally think having info will help you cut down on travelling and aimlessly wandering looking for survivors. So with that in mind, the build I currently run is Weave Attunement and Franklin's Demise. This allows you to knock items out of survivors' hands and trap them, giving the survivors a side objective, as stated earlier. Once they get near the item essentially snitches on them, telling the trapper where they are, assuming you see. If you down someone and someone else looks like they may flashy save, hit them and trap the torch. By the time they get the torch back, you should have been able to hook them, and the person who just got their flashlight back will get oblivious. It's generally all around a good thing. You can trap items, you can get a lot of information. In practice, it works quite well, so definitely recommend. The last 2 perks I run for this build is Oppression and Discordance. Discordance shows the aura of a generator when 2 or more people are repairing that generator. This allows you to prioritize going to that generator and chasing people off, making the game last a little longer, because pressuring 2 people is better than pressuring 1. Meanwhile, Oppression allows you to regress many gens at once. You kick a gen and it will also begin to regress other generators up to 4. If a survivor is repairing a generator that gets hit by the regression, they'll get a difficult skill check instead, and if they fail that, it'll give you a noise notification, therefore giving you extra information and suppressing generators where possible. Other perks that could be useful on Trapper, one is Wandering Eye. When you start a chase with a survivor, other injured survivors within 20 meters are revealed for 5 seconds. This is more of an edge case, but this would be useful when you get someone trapped, they get injured, and someone else helps rescue them, and then they try and distract by taking chase. This would allow you to find the survivor so you can down them, or even pretend to chase the other one and then turn around and down them, allowing you to get a fairly free hook, assuming that other survivor doesn't come back. Another perk that could be handy is Trail of Torment. Kick a generator. Whilst the generator is regressing, you remain undetected. Whilst you're undetected, you can trap a nearby area and then wait for someone to touch it and come back and hit them. You could also pair this with Dragon's Grip to get an easy down too. Final perk that could be worth running on Trapper is Hex Plaything. You can hook a survivor and then the hex will spawn, so you go find that hex and you could either place the trap directly in front of the hex to cause more time to remove the hex. If you're very observant as well, you could see when the jaws are closed and that will give you an indication that someone is near there. Therefore, you could sneak up on them and hit them. The other thing you could do is place the trap in nearby grass or a path which you think they will take to get to that totem, therefore getting another free injure and maybe down if you get there close enough. People make out the trapper isn't a very good killer, but he's actually alright. People want all these fancy stuff, but he's one of the first killers and he's not bad. Sure, you don't have teleports, sure you can't fire stuff or dash, but you make things happen with this killer. You place the traps, you ideally make survivors run into those traps. There is decent ways to play him, and he can be quite fun. Watching survivors try and get their items back is hilarious as you down them over and over and over because they're not using their brains. So give Trapper a try sometime. He's more fun than you think. If you liked the video, give it a like, and if you want to see more videos like this, please give me a follow. And comment perks you like to use on the Trapper below, as my perk list isn't exhaustive.